Hey everyone and welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV, where today it is time to continue Heavensward. As we begin our trials around Ishgard in order to help out, prove ourselves worthwhile so that Count Fortam does not get in trouble with his peers for taking us in, and also hopefully eventually find some news about the missing scions. Alright, today we are going to be speaking with Artoirel and taking care of your branch first. We'll do the minion roulette once we're outside. I do want to note that basically every expansion, very early on in each expansion, there's going to be a split like this, where you have two different routes you need to take before you continue on with the main story after they rejoin. These split routes are pretty short. Basically, the point of them is to split the player base into two separate zones, so not everyone is in the same zone at the same time, because that caused problems on A Realm Reborn's initial launch. Well, there were many problems with A Realm Reborn's initial launch. The servers got absolutely slammed, and it was a huge issue. Though A Realm Reborn also solved that by having 3 city-states you could start in. Point is, the idea is to not overload any particular zone's servers by splitting the players across them, just for the initial batch of quests, until people start to spread out a little bit as some people rush through a lot faster and other people take it at a more casual pace. We'll see that with every expansion. Obviously we're going to do both routes. We have to do both routes, but we're going to be starting today with Artoirel's. Lord Artoirel is less than eager to brief us on his mission. Let us begin anew, Mistress Lancy. I am Sir Artoirel de Fortam, eldest son of Count Edmund de Fortam. You will forgive me my outburst, I hope. I meant no disrespect. I merely consider myself equal to the duties entrusted to me, unlike some. Harshavant has spoken of you often. If you are even half the woman he claims, I shall be glad to have you at my side. Also, perfectly understandable, Artoirel, you have a sense of pride for being able to do the tasks that are assigned to you. You don't want someone to, it feels like you're being told that you can't do it on your own. I promise you that I am not here to do that to you. I get it. I'm just here to help out in whatever way I can. That's my job, is to help. To the matter at hand then, we will be assisting my esteemed compatriots of the houses Durender and Zemail. You are aware of our friendly rivalry, I take it? Aye, well, suffice it to say, the prospect of assisting said houses does not fill me with joy. However, it is the will of the Holy See that we set aside our differences at this crucial juncture, but we shall speak more of that anon. First, we must need secure transport to Falcon's Nest. Let us make for the Chocobo Stables in Foundation. Alright, we're gonna walk there, and there's a few things I want to talk about / show on the way. First off, I want to introduce another one of my Warriors of Lights, just because I'm going to be talking about them occasionally. As I mentioned in the first episode of Heavensward, I'm really into the roleplay aspect of this. I'm actively working on what are all my Warriors of Light doing throughout the quests, throughout the main story. And I may occasionally bring up what they're doing at any particular moment if it's something that particularly stands out. Obviously not going to be too big of a focus on that, but I do want to at least introduce my characters so they're at least known if and when I do bring them up. So today's character I'm bringing up, also I'm grabbing the last Ethernet shard in Ishgard. The last one is just down the hill over here, and is right by the Astrologians Guild, well, the Athenium Astrologicum. Alright, and the Gates of Judgment are now accessible as a destination. We can get out to Central Highland easily now. Anyways, the next Warrior of Light I wanted to introduce is, checking my notes, Sibyld. Sibyld Hawk is an Alamegan refugee, Highlander here who came from Alamigo during the occupation, in the initial occupation of Alamigo. His family fled to Eorzea like many other refugees, and arrived in Ul'dah, where they were unable to find really anything. Any work, anything. They lived in basically abject poverty. The trip from Alamigo to Ul'dah was very, very brutal on Sibyld, so he's a little bit... They're a little bit physically fragile. Their body didn't quite grow right just due to malnutrition and other issues from, being homeless, impoverished refugees who went through a very grueling trek from Alamigo to Ul'dah. So Sibyld's not very physically capable, But Sibbald is very magically capable, so Sibbald tends to take on a lot of the caster jobs, a lot of the magical caster jobs. In particular, from A Realm Reborn, Sibbald picks up, I believe, Black Mage, White Mage, and there was one more I want to say. Let me pull that up. Sibbald pulled up White Mage, Black Mage. Oh, and I guess that is actually it for A Realm Reborn. I know a few other jobs he's going to end up picking up. They use he, they pronouns, and yeah. They have a strong, like, adoptive sibling relationship with Kokonori, but we will talk about Kokonori soon, and we'll talk more about the relationship at that time. But yeah, Sibbald. I like Sibbald. Sibbald is Sibbald is a character I've actually thought a lot more about than I expected I would. I've secured Chocobo porters for the two of us. The Chocobo Keep has yours. Alright, thank you. Greetings, Mr. Slancy. I've saddled the Black Chocobo for your journey to the Western Highlands as per Lord Artoirel's instruction. Will this be your first time riding a Black Chocobo, may I ask? If so, you're in for a treat. As I dare say you know, this particular breed can fly. Well, it was unique for being able to fly until patch 5.3 added flight to all mounts. Given the right conditions, they can carry you quite high too, even over Snowcloak. You needn't worry about directing the bird, of course. Like all porters, she's trained to carry you to your destination all by herself. So just relax and enjoy the view. Oh, but be sure not to relax your grip, will you? 2 hands on the reins at all times, if you please. Alright, let's travel to Falcon's Nest. And I will show this on the map once we have landed, but...
to the frozen wastes of the Western Highlands, once verdant tracts made pallid by the calamity. Beyond the towering wall of ice, to lands long forsaken that the knights of Ishgard strove tirelessly to reclaim. To the hamlet of Falcon's Nest, once abandoned, now freed of its pall of snow and ash, she came.
I remembered at the last moment that it's a different cutscene when you first come here, of course, because we needed for Tom to actually narrate. Okay, so lots of things to talk about, actually. First off, where's the map? From Heavensward onwards, we have to discover the map ourselves, and we get experience points for every zone of the map that we uncover. So it may actually be a good idea to travel through as our Heavensward jobs just to get those that map experience. It's fine. We'll get those caught up soon enough, and then we'll get most all the experience going to them. But yeah. When you come here normally, not the very first time, but anytime after that via Black Chocobo, you fly in from like around here-ish. Let me right, can't see anything because the map's covered. You fly in from like around here-ish and you fly south and then land down at the docks over here effectively. So if I actually pull up the map, oh, that's almost lined up correctly. Almost. So, Coerthas Western Highlands is the last of the 1.0 maps that got added to the new version of the game, A Realm Reborn onwards. There's several other 1.0 maps that did not make it into like as main explorable maps. Actually, yeah, you can see like on the zoomed out view. Right around here, this is where we flew in from, and this is where we landed. So we fly in from here and we kind of fly south and land over here. But yeah, this is the last of the 1.0 maps that got added as a main exploration zone. There's still other maps that exist that mostly got added as like PvP zones or similar. Like there's a PvP zone over here, which is the Shatter map. Never got added in as a full map to the game. What? Is that is that North Shroud that they're showing right there? And is that Mordona? I think that's North Shroud and Mordona. Interesting. Anyways, yeah, there's still other maps, especially around Coerthas, that never made it into the game. Some 1.0 maps made it as PvP maps, but this is the last explorable zone from 1.0 that got added. And in 1.0, there was a bridge from Snowcloak right here, went directly west, and came out right about here-ish. I want to say right about here-ish. The map is definitely a little bit distorted from where it was in 1.0. Partially because it's frozen over now, which fucked everything up significantly. But yeah, so there used to be a bridge through Snowcloak that landed right here. In fact, Snowcloak is that frozen over bridge. That entire dungeon is the bridge, just covered so thoroughly in ice that it's unrecognizable, which is really funky. So yeah, we flew quite a way south from Ishgard to get here. There is a normal route that is not Chocobo Porter to get back to Ishgard, and that is just to walk down here. And I think implicitly you hop on a black Chocobo and it flies you back to Ishgard. But we're not going to handle that right now. I don't even know if we'd be allowed to leave. We probably would. Alright, let's go ahead and go speak to Artoirel and continue the quest. The world looks quite different when viewed from the back of an airborne chocobo, does it not? I still find the experience strangely liberating. Well, I didn't get to see the view, unfortunately, because it showed me the narration cutscene. To business. Sir Redwald is in charge here. He should be expecting us. But yeah, Falcon's Nest was an actual settlement in 1.0, which is neat. I love that. It looked quite a bit less developed than this. Alright, let's go ahead and get our Chocobo Porter updated. So now we can fly here freely via Chocobo Porter. Let us definitely remember to go get the Aetheryte. And then we can go finish the quest. And then we have like one or two more notes of business to take care of before we finish today. But let's go finish the quest first. Though, while we are still in main story mode, might as well say, as mentioned before, we're going to be fairly main story light for a little while, just while the Heavensward jobs are getting caught up. And there's just so many job quests in general in Heavensward that it's going to be a good while. Like, there's going to be a lot more job quests and main scenario quests throughout this entire expansion. And that's unfortunately just how it's going to have to be. So expect there to be plenty of weeks where there are only a couple of main scenario episodes and then a bunch of job quests. 2 main scenario episodes and 4 job quest episodes in a week is going to be very expected. It has been far, far too long, Lord Artoirel, and who might your companion be? Pray forgive our lateness, Sir Redwald. I present to you Satora Lanzi, Ward of House Fortam. Ah, yes, of course. Lord Drulamon spoke of you. I, Sir Redwald of House Durandare, do bid you welcome to Falcon's Nest. We are both eager to contribute to the settlement's restoration. How may we be of service? Before we speak of that, would I be correct in assuming that Mistress Lanzi is unfamiliar with our recent history? Then with your permission, I shall recount the tale for her benefit. As you may know, Falcon's Nest was once a hamlet with a small garrison of knights and some few villagers. And then came the calamity. When it became clear that the snow would not stop falling, we had no choice but to order a complete withdrawal. The settlement and the entirety of the Western Highlands were to be abandoned. Abandoned to the heretics, Lady Iceheart and her kind have walked these lands of impunity ever since. Aye, but no longer. The Holy See has commanded the reclamation of the Western Highlands and the expulsion of heretical elements. Falcon's Nest is key to accomplishing these objectives, but as you can see, rebuilding the hamlet will be no small undertaking. Our craftsmen require support and protection. Any assistance you can offer will be greatly appreciated. As promised, we have House Fortam at your disposal, Sir Redwald. You need but tell us where to begin. Alright, sorry Sir Redwald, but it will be a few days before we get back to assisting you. Because we got job quests to do. Alright, last orders of business before we finish up for today. First off... yesterday on the Sunday video, we went over the Hall of the Intermedia that got added in patch 7.1. There's one thing I forgot to go over, and that is the combat guide. The combat guide is a textual description with images of a lot of the things that are gone over in the Hall of the Intermediate, with some additional information, so I recommend you read over it. It is very helpful. It's a good review. Some enemy attacks will show an indication of where they will strike in the form of a marker. In most cases, you can avoid taking damage by moving outside of the highlighted area before it lands. These markers take many forms: circle, donut, line, very common types. Some enemy attacks take time to cast before they strike. A progress bar will appear beside the name of the caster, and once this bar fills completely, the attack will be unleashed. Note that attacks with no cast time will not display a cast bar. There's one piece of information they forget to include here, and I really hope they include it later. If the cast bar is flashing, oops, wrong button. If the cast bar is flashing, there's like a pulsing outline on it, that means you can interrupt it with an interrupt attack. Tanks will use the ability interject in order to stop that. Actually, let me check something real quick. Oh dear God, I'm freezing. Put a coat on. There we go. Let's see. Hall of the Novice. I want to check something. If they do this, I'll be a little bit annoyed. Okay, they don't do it, which is also annoying because that means the information's not in here at all. But I was hoping that they would say like, hey, with interject you can interrupt flashing cast bars. That's fine, no big deal. You can also use stun abilities usually to interrupt most cast bars. Some enemies are too big to be stunned with a low blow or anything like that. But very frequently, the casters and healers have an ability called Repose or Sleep that will put an enemy to sleep for a moment, and most people assume this is useless. It's not useless! Have it on your cast bar and use it! I swear to God, it's so annoying that people think this is useless. This is partially the game's fault for not doing a great job of explaining it, but Sleep and Repose will interrupt attacks that melees and tanks cannot. Because it will put the enemy to sleep for a moment, which will stop their attack. If you have a cast bar that can't be interrupted by a physical DPS or a tank, by using their low blow or tank's interject, try using Sleep or Repose. It will frequently work. In fact, there is a dungeon in Dawntrail where it expects you to use this. Sorry, it's just... I feel like I'm the only person on the fucking planet who knows that sleep is useful, and it's so frustrating. It is so frustrating. Enmity is the priority system by which an enemy chooses the target. All players entered into combat with the enemy generate enmity through dealing damage or healing allies. There are two ways to check your current enmity level. One is the enmity list. The enmity list shows all enemies with whom you have generated enmity. The icon on the left indicates your current enmity level. The 4 levels are displayed below in order of greatest to least. The party list shows each party member's enmity level with the currently selected enemy, as indicated in the lower left corner of the class job icon. The player with the greatest enmity is marked A, followed by 2, 3, and so on. The adjacent gauge shows a relative difference in enmity compared to the player with the most. During party combat, if you find that enemies are swarming you instead of the tank, you may wish to withhold your attacks until the tank has regained enmity. Tank Stance. Each tank job has a special action that helps to keep their enmity level high. While with Tank Stance active, attacks to dealt to enemies will generate significantly higher enmity, controlling the focus of enemy attacks and thereby helping to keep allies safe. This is the key aspect of playing as a tank in party combat. The specific way it works, I believe, if I remember correctly, is the amount of enmity you generate is equal to the amount of damage you do. And if you have Tank Stance on, the enmity you generate is the damage you do multiplied by 10, I want to say. Very, very good to have that up if you are the main tank. There are situations in which you may be a tank and want to have Tank Stance off. That is the primary reason why Tank Stance exists, to enable multiple tanks in a fight to be able to swap between who is the current tank. An enhancement is a status effect that strengthens the player, whereas an enfeeblement is one that weakens the player. The icons for enhancements and enfeeblements you receive will appear in the status effects element of your HUD layout. Enhancements have icons shaped like upwards arrows, whereas enfeeblements are shaped like downwards arrows. A white line across the top of an icon indicates that the enfeeblement can be removed with certain healing actions such as Asuna. I'm so fucking glad they actually explained this now. It is so important that people know this, and it was not explained before, and it is completely up in the air when people figure it out for themselves, if they ever do. So the fact it's explained now is great. Okay, we've got a whole bunch of markers. I want to say all of these were gone over in the actual Hall of the Intermediate, so we're going to skim through them real quick. Yeah, these are... Yeah, these are basically all covered in the Hall of the Intermediate. I highly recommend going over these because there is some very valuable info in here, like tank buster markers, the different types. There's solo, there's area effect, there's line or cleave, which is the square icon. There's stack, which is the red stack marker with orbs. There's a lot of very useful information in here. Directional knockback, radial knockback. If the marker is purple like this one, it cannot be nullified by job actions like arm's length or surecast. Very useful to know. Like, seriously, you've really got to go through all these. This very valuable info. I'm colorblind. I can barely tell the difference between these two markers. How dare you? Oh, thank goodness. Okay. There actually is an explanation of the proximity flare marker with the 3 arrows. Yeah, I'm very glad for this, because some of these things are like, I thought I knew these, but I wasn't sure. So I am extremely glad that there is just information in here to clarify everything. Yeah, but for the most part, this was all gone over in the Hall of the Intermediate. Number markers are very useful. Those are typically referred to as... oh god, I forgot the common name for it. Usually number markers are referred to by the name of an attack in a raid where that mechanic first appeared. Yeah, lots of good info in here. Wanted to make sure I at least showed that. And then the other thing I want to go over real quick is I've been doing PvP Series 7, which is the series going on with patch 7.1, and I got a new emote out of it. Ballroom Etiquette Awaiting Orders, the /attend emote. Let's go ahead and check out how that looks, and that'll be about it for today. Attend is right here. Perfect for butlers or maids. Actually, very, very good for roleplay. Oh, I forgot to do the minion roulette. All right, we'll do it next time. Whatever. I will see everyone next time as we are moving on to our next few job quests for our Heavensward jobs. And then later this week, we will get back to Redwald for more main story. I will see everyone next time for that.